welcome back to my channel. I figured that I would redo my top 5 eyeshadow palettes video, which is pretty much why I have, see that fly, which is pretty much why I have the subscriber count that I do. I don't know how it happens. It just happens to random videos sometimes on YouTube where they blow up out of nowhere. You all came from a top 5 eyeshadow palette video, and I thought it was only fitting to do an updated version because all of my favorite eyeshadow palettes have changed, all but one. And the ones that I mentioned in that video still hold true. Like, they're very near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love them. But I have new additions to my collection that I reach for frequently, all the time. And they're palettes that I absolutely adore. So I figured I would just start right off talking about the one that is the exact same, the one that actually made it to the second time, and that's the Modern Renaissance. And if you can tell just how loved it is, it's disgusting. By now I have hit pan on Vermeer right there. That is, like, whenever I use this palette, I use that shadow as like a face highlight as well. The Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette is $42. I do still love this palette so much. It's still true how much I love burgundy eyeshadows, red toned eyeshadows. This palette has the perfect ones, the perfect tones, and it's pretty much all but 3 of them are matte. I mean, all but 3 of them, right. All but 3 of them are matte. 3 of them are shimmer, like satin, like antique bronze is more like a satin. It's not super shimmery, but amazing. These shadows are amazing. They're soft, they're buttery, they blend out like a dream. There is a lot of fallout, not a lot of fallout, but there's a lot of fallout compared to like what you're probably used to in this palette, but it's still so good. Okay, now switching things up, these next 4 are completely different. These were not mentioned in my last video. I will talk about the Tarte Pro palette next. This is my go-to palette when I don't know what to do, when I just want to do like a really simple look, or I don't have a lot of time to get ready. But it's also my go-to palette for clients at work because it has everything you need for like what someone who's not like keen on makeup is confident in wearing. Like, it's not like neon turquoises and like lime greens stuff. It's just a very pretty palette. And it is also pretty much all matte except for these 4 right here. I love that it's lined up. It dumbs it down for you if you're not super like eyeshadow savvy and don't know how to like pair eyeshadows together. They go by row, so if you want to create a look, they have it like simplified just there, just like that. The shadows are not overly pigmented, but they're not pigmented. They're really easy to like work with, build up, blend out, and then add more. And it's just a great quality. I don't have that many Tarte eyeshadow palettes, but I think this one is super worth it. This is $54. You get 20 eyeshadows for $54, so that's really, really good. I love it. You get your warms, you get purples, you get pink burgundies, and you get neutrals. So if you are looking to start out and you're looking for a palette you can buy in store like at Sephora or Ulta, and you want something that's not just brown, this is perfect. Next up, I feel like I shouldn't even be showing this because this is not very used yet, but it is the Heat palette from Urban Decay. I know a lot of people were like scared of this palette before it released because so many people have beef with like the other Naked palettes being like shitty quality or not pigmented or whatever the case may be. But to be honest, I have no problems with pigmentation or like just the quality of the Urban Decay Naked palette shadows in general. I think they're good. I mean, they're not like amazing, outstanding, like top notch, but they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. If you are someone who's not that, again, another eyeshadow savvy person, they're just fine. But this palette, honestly, I have all the other ones and this one is better, and it's just so good. They're super pigmented eyeshadows. They're super blendable, and honestly, I know everyone was over like the warmth of like this palette. They're saying it's being overdone, But if you look at it from like a Sephora Ulta standpoint, I work at Sephora and we honestly don't carry warm toned eyeshadow palettes. You see so many like indie brands, Instagram brands, online only brands that do have warm toned eyeshadow palettes, but not that you can buy in stores. So when everyone's freaking out over this being another warm toned palette, or the Tarte coming out with the Tarteist, or the Tarte, the Toasted palette, which is warm toned, but you honestly can't find a variety of warm toned shadow palettes at Sephora and Ulta. So I appreciate it. I really, really do. I really love it. And the Naked palettes, I mean, you get, what do you get, 12? 12 shadows, $54 as well. So it's the same price as the Tarte Pro palette. You don't get as many eyeshadows, but they're good. And this one actually, I like the Naked palettes are like notorious for having way too many shimmers and not enough mattes. This is like the complete opposite. This does have 7 mattes, 4 shimmers, and then Ounce is kind of like a satiny kind of shade. But these are stunning. They're so pretty. If you have green eyes or blue eyes, this is gonna make them look insane good. It's super good. All right, now we're going into more online retailers. This is the 35B palette from Morphe. I know I had the 35O in my last video, and as you know, it's still a great palette, but I honestly am not like a super fan of how many eyeshadows come in the 35 pan palettes. You get a lot, but sometimes it's like, holy fucking shit, like it's overwhelming. So I do reach for this over the 35O more these days, but this is a colored lover's dream right here. It's amazing. They're not, again, they're not like amazing high quality, like they're not like pigmented AF eyeshadows, but they work very well. They're a little bit of a drier formula, but the color is there, the pigment's there. You can build it up, which honestly, I don't need to have an eyeshadow palette that right off the bat, like you get a shit ton of pigmentation, as long as it builds up really nice. And this is no exception to that. You get 35 shadows in here. This is $22. This is $22. Out of the 35 shadows, there are 12 that are like either a shimmery or a satiny finish. I would have preferred to see this in an all matte, because I don't know, when I'm doing like colorful looks, my preference is to use colorful mattes, and then I like to top colorful looks with glitter. I feel like it just kind of brings the whole thing together, but no complaints. And I do appreciate that it comes with a really light, pretty much white eyeshadow without being like super white, and then a black eyeshadow to deepen all of these bright colors up. But if you're looking for something that has a lot of color and is good quality, I would check out the Morphe 35B. And then the last, but certainly not least, and you had to know it was gonna be in here because you know I am her #1 supporter, the Jacqueline Hill palette, also by Morphe. This is what dreams are made of. I literally have no words for this palette. This palette, I can tell it was made differently from the other ones. I have 4 other Morphe palettes besides the Jacqueline Hill palette, and it's better. It's much better. The quality's way better. The matte shadows still aren't like super buttery soft, but the pigmentation is outstanding, and they're not like super dry either. They do build up really nice. You don't need a lot of the product actually to get the pigmentation you're looking for, but they blend out like a dream. This palette has a huge range of matte and shimmer shadows. She has some really pretty shimmers in here. There are 18 of the shadows are either a really shimmery, glittery, or satiny finish. The rest are matte. It's a very warm tone palette with a couple of like cool tones strewn about. Hey, that's the word. But it is a primarily warm palette, which in true Jacqueline fashion, it makes sense. But they're amazing. I want to just like keep staring at it because I haven't used it as much as I wanted to, just because I I like to try to run through all of my eyeshadows and not just get stuck using one palette. But this palette is so pretty. It's so good. I love it. One thing that is really, really weird, I don't really know how like it happened, but I was barely using Chip for my last, not my last video, but my tutorial, my 3 looks 1 palette video. I was using Chip. And do you kind of see, I don't know if you can see that. It like sunk in. I was using like an e.l.f. tiny little baby blender brush. I think I was actually using either this one right here or I was using this Morphe one right here. And all I did was like tap, 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 and it just sunk right in. So I don't really know what the heck happened there. But whatever. I'm gonna repurchase it when it's restocked. I'm gonna repurchase it at least one more time before it's gone for good because it's that good and it's right up my alley. Like, I'm obsessed with like reds and oranges and love it. It's amazing. It's so good. This actually was also more expensive than Morphe palettes. This was $38, but for like the quality that you get, like you're not getting a standard Morphe palette. This is, it's completely worth it. $38, it's like nothing for 35 shadows. That's just over $1 a shadow. So if you do have the chance, I know that some people are asking me like, hey, like, should I buy it even if I don't like Jacqueline Hill? And I'm like, honestly, yes, because for one, if you like how the palette looks, like you're attracted to the colors, who cares what name is on it? Like, I mean, yes, she's getting some coin from you buying the palette, but that shouldn't stop you from having a palette just because you like the colors. And if you like the colors, this palette is, it's way up there in quality. It's really, really good. Okay. Okay, guys, that completes my top 5 eyeshadow palette video. Yeah, it was completely different from my last one. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you liked me, go ahead and hit that little red button down below, the one that says subscribe. And if you really like me, you should check out my other social media, like, you know, Instagram and Twitter and all that jazz. I will list everything down below. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.